welcome to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and I'm joined by the hardcore crew. First, from the Skeldon Realms, he's the Lord Skeldon himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's going on?
Nothing much. Well, let's just get this out of the way. Go ahead, Lance.
That's Joe at SchoolingStorm.com.
Okay.
And of course, from Lance Moss TV, he's the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's up?
Not too much. Got a cup of coffee. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm not sure if those of you who had read it or not, but Charlene Guerrero took to social media where she accused her stepfather, Chris Benson, of raping her back in 2020 during a cruise. Chris and Vicky Benson, also known as Vicky Guerrero, responded to Charlene Guerrero's recent allegations and stated they will be taking her to court for false allegations. Vicky also stated that she has cut all ties with her daughter. Vicky noted that her relationship with Charlene has been a 15-year fight, as she tends to be narcissistic, manic, and manipulative. As far as the sexual assault incident her daughter is talking about, referred to, Vicky said that Charlene was drunk on the cruise and demanded to get a Plan B from a pharmacy in the Bahamas because she had been raped by several guys that was in her room. And Vicky's just tired of it all. So I don't know what to make of this, guys. This is a very strange situation. I mean, obviously you have to have sympathy for a victim, but then you have somebody like Vicky Guerrero who is, completely telling a different story, saying, no, she's bullshit, and guess what? We're taking you to court. Joe, how do you respond? What do you do with that?
Obviously, there's something going on behind the scenes. Maybe this girl is trying to get some attention. It's this is a situation you never. It's just a wrestling business. You never know who's telling the truth and what. Could she have been raped or touched or whatever? We really can't say yes or no because we don't know what the hell is going on. But for it to get out of this control, either it's really serious matter or the girl's crying for attention. And let's face it, Vicky Guerrero's not like in the proper place to say, yeah, this, because she's done questionable stuff in her time since Eddie's been gone. Who knows what could have happened while she was gone, away from the house and all that. This is a scenario, again, we seriously do not know what is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Lance, over to you. What's your thoughts? Well said.
Damn.
Rick, I think what we're looking at here is the scenario is that this is such a touchy subject because, again, there are people that get, raped, touched, whatever have you, and it's a horrible thing. But then there are individuals that that sometimes they, can go look for a cry. It's a cry of attention, like, oh, nobody pays any attention to me. I want to have something, So I honestly, I think this is what makes this story very hard to swallow. Over in the YouTube chat room, Terry says, early evening to everyone. Evening, Terry.
Yeah.
Hello, Terry. And, but like you said, Joe, it's so touchy, and it's like you don't want to be insensitive, but you don't know, and it's very hard. Actually, the rest of the Guerrero family for a while is at odds. Chavo Guerrero made it very clear that he's supportive, while there's her daughter, older sister, Shaw Guerrero, at first was kind of siding with Vicky, but now she is in full support of Charlene. So, again, that just shows you, again, there's got to be so much more to the story, obviously, that will not come to light.
And again, with
definition of a clusterfuck.
Yeah, and plus with Vicky, like I said, Vicky Guerrero's past, you never know what kind of guy she's with now. He stays, and he's smart. He stays out of the way. He's not in the spotlight. Vicky always is. So you don't know, what's going on behind, behind all the shenanigans that's going on. I just hope that whatever transpires from all this, that the family does get together, and you know, Eddie's probably grasping his head and says, "Thank God I'm not down there."
Oh, Jesus.
Oh damn.
What? I didn't say anything
No,
wrong.
no,
He's
but
probably saying,
Yeah.
"Man, with all
For
this stuff
once,
going on."
boss, I got to give it to him.
yeah, fair enough,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right. Well, let's move along. Uh, WWE has decided to change the Queen and King of the Ring tournament to Night of Champions. They originally planned on making that a whole pay-per-view where the whole tournament was going to go from start to finish. But apparently, some reports claim that this is a marketing ploy because of the event being down in Saudi Arabia. Crowning king and queens might be frowned upon by the Saudi government. But also, another issue is on Night of Champions, that where all titles are defended on one night. Now, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are currently the WWE Universal Champions, Tag Team Champions, excuse me. And they refuse to work for the Saudi government. So how that's going to play out, Joe? What's your thoughts?
Abdullah, hide the camels. We're gonna get these people coming back again. So
That's Joe at school.
I tried, but as soon as he brought that up, it just cracked. But anyway, I didn't even say anything really
He's broken,
bad
folks.
either.
Don't play,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let me just put it like this right now. Let's get this shit out of the way for all you people that cry and complain, that are too sensitive, that can't handle a comedy routine or something funny, or take life too serious. Please don't watch the show. If you're looking for just to hear a boring podcast, then obviously there's several others who are boring as hell. I tell it like it is.
You can listen to Vince Russo if that's boring.
Exactly.
Or you can also contact our complaint department. It's Joe at schoolnewsroom.com.
Right, and you'll see how far that goes. So you know what? I miss the King of the Ring. That used to be an important night that dates back really far back when Hacksaw Jim Duggan once in. Huh?
89, 88, something like that.
Yes. Hell, it made Stone Cold Steve Austin a superstar. It made Owen Hart the King of Hearts. So forth, and so forth. Bret Hart. It's one of those things that while Night of Champions sounds good, but Night of Champions just sounds like a thing where all titles are on the line. And where does the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring, for that, keep those events, make a night, a night of tournaments, and keep that in the United States. Let Abdul and Shahir and Bahama and whatever the fucking camels, Prince Ali, fancy as he, Ali Ababwa. Let them have fucking night of the camels or something, or night of the white sheets, because you see all the hotels, they missing sheets, because that's all you see is a sea of sheiks. I don't get it, Rick. For that, all titles have to be on the line, and Sami Zayn has a right not to be there. Kevin Owens is going to support his buddy. So you already lost one tag titles. Women are not going to be prominent on that show. So I wish they would just put back Money in the Bank. That was a event that was entertaining. It is fun to watch, and you never know who's going to win. Hell, what was it last time? Who was it? Liv Morgan that won it on the roof of Titan Tower?
No, Asuka.
There you go. So, see, Terry even says Night of Champions sounds more like an AEW pay-per-view name.
Yeah. And actually, they had Battle of the Belts 6. I got like last week or the week before.
And they didn't advertise it except for Night of.
And here's something funny too. Night of Champions actually, guys, belongs to the old AWA when they did Night of Champions. So that was something that they did back in the 80s with the NWA, CWA, and all that. So that's the night Stan Hansen won the AWA title from Rick Martel. Shows you how far that goes.
Yeah.
And wasn't Night of Champions also in WCW for a while?
Clash of
Oh no, it's
Clash.
Clash of Champions. Thank you very much. Shows you how well my brain is. All right. You know what? We're gonna move along, and then there are rumors suggesting that Kenny Omega is considering leaving AEW and heading for the WWE. Omega's contract is set to expire. Well, was set to expire this past February. However, he was out for about a year and dealing with several injuries, which extended his contract. As of right now, there's no confirmations, and with Vince McMahon back at the helm, reports say it's less likely that Omega will make that jump. Um, Lance, I'm going to push this one over to you. I mean, what
flat
would
out because he of the sweetheart deal he has. I'll believe it when I see it. Other than that, he ain't going to New York.
All right, Joe, your thoughts?
I have to agree with Lance. Kenny Omega literally was one of the guys that founded AEW with Cody Rhodes. Now we saw Cody jump, and he was going to have his moment. They took it away from him. That should be right there, an indication that nothing ever goes as planned. So if they offer him the moon, the planets, and everything in the middle, I wouldn't believe him for shit, especially with the cost cutting that WWE is doing. Plus, Kenny Omega is going to be used for what, like you good 6 months before they pile him on losses to Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, and then he'll really start going down the line. So that novelty factor is going to go really out the window. Best, you know what? Best scenarios. Look at AJ Styles. Look at Cody Rhodes. How they used them to the great potential, and now they're just kind of now floundering a bit.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's really fair with AJ Styles because AJ Styles, when he first came in, he made a long headway and he won championships. He defeated John Cena in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, clean.
And also, he's out right now with a broken ankle.
This is true. So, he's won titles, he's won championships, he's headlines, like pay-per-views.
Yep.
So,
real quick, Terry over in the YouTube chat says, and he makes a point we didn't even bring up on this. If Kenny Omega wants to work 330 days a year, all power to him. That's something that Kenny does have control in AEW. It's the times he can wrestle.
Yeah. And, I mean, honestly, I think if Kenny Omega, for one reason or another, was not happy with AEW, I personally think he'd go back to New Japan.
Yeah.
That's just my thoughts. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know the man.
Yeah.
And I don't know his motivations, but I don't see him going anytime soon. If it does, I'll be shocked. So let me just put it that way. Bill Goldberg was a recent guest on a radio station where he stated that he had a handshake deal with Vince McMahon for a proper retirement match. Goldberg's last match was back in February 2022 against Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel in a losing effort. Now Goldberg is heated because McMahon has yet to live up to his promise. In short, Goldberg said that no one puts a stamp on his career and he retires when he says so. Now, here's the thing, guys. Goldberg seems to think that, I'm going to wrestle my last match. You're going to tell me. That doesn't work that way, Joe. I mean, I don't know. When does the wrestler have a right to tell the manager or the promoter that what his match is going to be?
When he has creative control of his contract. But this is a different WWE. This is not fully the McMahon era. This is somebody else that's in control, and McMahon is just there. Honestly, the guy, he wants a proper send-off so he could go to AEW and cash in over there. So, oh no, it's honestly, we're just saying that. But I don't know. It's like the way I see it. It's, my God, this is, he should have been retired years ago.
I agree,
especially from the shitty lifestyle he did or should I say the shitty match he did with Undertaker. So
and Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
And Roman Reigns. Exactly.
He should have been retired in '99.
Yeah.
So again, this is that scenario where she should have been retired a long, long time ago. So, but for him to make demands, this is not the old WWE. This is a new corporate, more corporate, uh, you know,
Company.
corporate company. I was just trying to make the comparison. It's like when Ted Turner bought WCW and it all went to hell. So Goldberg, you had your last match, you fucked that up. You don't look good. You haven't practiced in years. You know, just say go to the ring, put your boots in the middle ring. I'm retired. That's it. Get your Legends deal, and then do like everybody else. Go to AEW where you can suck them out of money.
Don't put any ideas in his head.
No.
No.
Oh, trust me, he'll go there. He'll Tony Tony Khan will be like, "Oh, I got Goldberg,
Yeah.
go and have Sting and him wrestle one more match."
Oh Jesus Christ, that would be fucking hell. And the thing, Tony Khan actually mentioned that he has an eye on Goldberg, which means that if Goldberg makes an offer and Tony Khan makes the right amount of money, which he probably would, we could possibly see Goldberg in AEW. And I don't want to see it. Lance, your thoughts?
No, 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 damn it, no. I've
Yeah.
got an idea of how to book Goldberg's last match, and hear me out on this one. It's the middle of nowhere, say Arizona. Book a local VFW hall, and in the ultimate go the hell away match, Goldberg versus Ryback. Either way, both of these some bitches go away forever.
And the
Or
coolest.
you can have Jeff Jarrett host that event, and he'll get over on Goldberg.
There you go.
All right, guys, we are gonna move along. Will Ospreay took to Twitter where he stated that he is medically cleared to wrestle, but he still feels he needs to take a little more time to get his strength back. Ospreay also talked about how he needs to be changing his moveset because there are certain moves he can't do safely anymore. Specifically, his springboard moonsault, he said, is pretty much has been gone from his entire moveset. Now, Lance, I know you are a fan of Will Ospreay. What do you think Ospreay would have to do? What moves would he have to eliminate? What would he have to change his character, or like to keep this persona going?
Well, okay. He's known as kind of a high flying guy. If he has to ground, just straight up change every damn thing, he will probably have to come up with a whole damn other persona. Because I'm sorry, Juventud Guerrera pulling off an Arn Anderson match, he's going to lose some fans.
Yeah, and that's a very fair point. Joe, I know how much you really disdain for high flying wrestlers, or what you call flippy flops. But now we have one who's considering that he can't do those moves anymore.
And it's a smart thing. Here's my thing. I do love the top rope stuff. Moderately. Thank you. I don't want to see an entire 10-minute match of 90% of that match flippity flips. You lose the luster. That's why it makes it such. Go back and look at Rey Mysterio's matches. The cruiserweight. In fact, go back and look at any cruiserweight match from WCW in the mid 90s to late 90s. They were one of the most incredible matches you can see because they had wrestling. They had the spot monkey stuff. They had the ground and pound. They knew how to throttle that back and then perform a move that you said, "Holy shit, I can't believe that was done." Will Ospreay, after this injury, needs to know where he is. He needs to look at, okay, can I be a pure technical guy like a Bret Hart? Maybe incorporate a little lucha, like maybe a springboard, or that's it, or something off the second rope or something. You don't have to put all of this into one, spot monkey match. I see a couple. I get indie guys sending me videos of them from YouTube. Oh, can you critique my match? And I want to critique it so bad. Yeah, it's cut back on the fucking flippity flip. You're an 80-pound fucking weakling and you're trying to do triple moonsaults, hitting your face on the turnbuckles. Next time, please break your neck because it's stupid. Slow it down. Not everything has to be a flippity flip. And he knows, in his career, if he wants to keep going, Rick, he has to slow that down. I'm sure. Who was it that recently got hurt? Dante Martin. Yeah,
Yes, it was
I'm
Dante
sure.
Martin.
Yeah, I'm sure that moron is gonna fucking probably say, maybe I should throttle that back a little bit.
Well, the thing was, he took the spot. He wasn't doing the spot, and that was
That's where you're wrong. Whenever you're participating in the spot, you agree to be in that spot. So you know what you're getting yourself into. You know what can possibly happen. And what did happen is he fucked himself up. Sure, it takes two to tango, but it also takes two to put the blame on, because now he's on the shelf. So you agreed to it. You're associate to this crime. So now it's like, boom, now you fucked yourself over. I hope you enjoy that. So, I'm not saying hold an arm bar for fucking 15 minutes. Throttle back. Not everything has to be a super high spot. That's why these guys are getting hurt. And Ospreay knows this. That's why he's throttling back. Kenny Omega, you could see in Kenny Omega's face, his body, how he's now slowing that back a little. Because you could tell when he winces. You could tell when he takes that bumps, how his back and his body are beating down, so beat down. And he's still a relatively young guy. So this is good. Will Ospreay learn to wrestle? I know he can. Ground and pound, little technical stuff, and maybe one or two aerial moves will still keep him a favorite among everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry 3G said at one point, yes, WCW mostly filled flip floppers matches for a full episode, and it got boring quickly. And I think that was pretty much towards the very end when they didn't have much. Yeah. But I wouldn't say the whole match, the whole TV show. I mean, they did highlight Lucha Libres.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say from start to finish.
A main problem that they don't have nowadays that they had back then. Back then, they had this thing called psychology in the ring, where they would try to pop the crowd and take them on a ride. Now, half these matches are like damn gymnastics routines.
Well, and that's what you see on the indie scene today with these young guys.
Yeah.
And schools do not teach nobody the proper psychology. They're learning from somebody else who learned from somebody else who learned, who somebody else will learn from a legend, and they just transfer it on their own thing. So it's ridiculous that these young folks, they go out of their way to go woo wow wee the crowd, and then they get injured and they're off TV for like how long? Rick, is Dante going to be out?
He's going to be out for at least a year, at the very least.
I'd probably say year and a half too.
Okay, so look at that. The momentum that he had is flushed down the toilet. For being a moron, for being an idiot, now he's out. He's not going to get the full paycheck because you're not going to pay, unless Tony Khan's that much of an idiot. You're going to get half of what you're going to make just to sit on your ass and watch everybody else's career take off. So flippity flips never work in the long run. That's why you see a little bit less of Darby Allin. That's why you see a little bit less of other high flyers, because they get injured and now they have to wait on the shelf till they come back. Then you got to fill in that show. Rick, I love when you put in those videos of the botches that these indie guys do on top ropes and all that. And that just tickles me because it says, great, next time, motherfucker, break your back and neck because I don't want to see you do that shit again.
Yeah,
And better off, go work at McDonald's. That's a lot safer.
well, the funny one, the botches that really stood out is that guy was in it was an indie show, and he climbed up to like one of the top rafter, and there was a guy laying on the table, perfectly set, and he jumped down. And he completely missed. He hit his elbow flush on the ground. I'm like, oh my god.
Dude, that was about 40 minutes from here in Jackson.
Should have sent you Lance down there to hit him with a baseball bat. Says, this is from Joe from Scoldin's Realm.
All right, moving on. Nick Khan was a guest on a recent radio show where he was asked about if WWE would ever bring back blood spots to the company. Now Khan said they would need to have a sit down with the networks before making any kind of a decision. He did say it was something that would definitely like a discussion that should be talked about, but didn't say yes or no or even give his thoughts on whether it should come back or not. So he was very, very, he kind of sidestepped a landmine, I think, there, Joe.
Again, here's the fans do want to see, and yes, a little bit of blood sometimes goes a long way, builds up anticipation. We used to see it a lot back in the old WWF days, and hell, back in the old back when the Attitude Era. You saw it in the golden days of the WWF, NWA, WCW, AW. I mean, we could go for all the territories. USWA. Lord knows. I'm sorry, what was that?
USWA.
USW, perfect example. Japan, hell, ECW. It was like on command. Okay, you're bleeding. Okay, there you go. It does when it's moderate, but again, today, you got to control. Networks are very etchy about that. Yeah, they're not etchy as showing you other stupid shit that they put on TV. But when it comes to blood and stuff like that, it's okay to do a horror movie like that, but a sports thing, nah. You really got to have that touch and go. That's what hampered a lot of WCW. They were stuck in that thing. You couldn't do a lot. So honestly, it calls for the right situation, moderate thing. And here we go again with moderate. Blood can come back, and for what reason? For what reason? What if the bloodline beat up on Cody Rhodes and busted him wide open? It harkens back to the Four Horsemen beating up on his dad, Dusty Rhodes. Moderately, once in a while, builds that up.
I agree that once in a while on certain matches. I mean, now AEW, as much as I love it, they too kind of tend to do bleeding a lot, especially when it comes to Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley lives for bleeding. I swear to God, the guy need to get like a blood transplant in the back.
I think he has a fetish.
Yeah, you know what? As crazy as it sounds, guys, I look at stuff like that, and really, to me, Jon Moxley, to me, was never a great worker. He was a funny guy when he did the Andros Asylum, but he was never a great worker. He was an average worker. Now he's on this hardcore trip. I don't know if he's trying to be the next Terry Funk or he's trying to be whomever, but honestly, that's going to cost him his life. He's going to get, God forbid, he gets sick from it. And, what if something seriously happens to the guy in a botched blade move? I just don't get it. He's a guy that, okay, he shouldn't be bleeding on command like a Ric Flair all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lance.
Lance, what's your thoughts on WWE possibly bringing back blood? And again, this is just hypothetical.
Well, I think it has a way higher chance than back before Endeavor bought them, because Look at the other company that is part of this new company, UFC. They do have. I watch here and there. They do definitely allow blood over there. So would it be from the higher ups? Not really. That wouldn't be. It's like it kind of depends on what channel these new TV deal comes with. If
Well,
if they come on, and I've heard rumors of them WWE possibly working with ESPN. If that, they damn sure got no problem with blood.
and again, there you go. But I think when it comes to UFC, and UFC is a full contact sport, so it's kind
Yeah,
of like,
for the most part, yeah.
so for them to get blood, it's a little bit different. We're talking with wrestling, which is kayfabe. You know,
Well,
there's
they do
I've
get
heard things
blood
about
by accident.
UFC.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was at just recently at WrestleMania when Finn Balor was facing Edge in the
Oh,
Hell in the Cell, and he got that ladder thrown at him flush in the face, and they stopped the match. It had a Hell in a Cell match, which I thought was the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen in wrestling. You know, um, I
If
mean,
let me put it like this, Rick. If this was WWE of old on a standard pay-per-view, not Peacock or whatever the fuck. If this was WWE pay-per-view that you had to order like it used to be, that stuff would have kept going. Now that it's corporate control, it's more access to more homes via Peacock. They're not going to have that where everybody's boycotting the fucking everything to these days. They don't want to do that. So corporations don't want to see that happen. So it's very, I mean, I'm surprised TBS TNT allow blood to go that far, because when WCW back in the day they used to do a hissy fit. So Tony Khan must be really greasing
they
their
were never on
palms.
TBS; they were on TNN.
No, TBS AEW.
Yes, I know that, but you're talking about ECW. ECW is never on TBS or
Oh,
TNT.
no. I meant AEW
Oh,
on with their blood. They never used to WCW. When WCW was on TBS or TNT, they never allowed the hell. You know, anytime somebody was, you said TNN, uh, when Paul E and ECW on it, any slight thing they would get killed.
yeah.
So right to censor.
Yeah. And now speaking of Khan, he was on during that same interview. He was also talking about budget cuts, and it's so they talked about how there's not going to be no hiring freeze, but obviously um, trying to take money out is also an issue. Um, this is what he pretty much in short had to say. The aggressive following the merger with Endeavor, they had to make certain cuts and cost downs in a major way. If you look at what Endeavor was able to do, take out cost-wise from UFC in 2016, shortly after that deal was done, we have to make the same expectations here. We think $50 million is a really conservative number. I don't know, Joe. 50 million is conservative. I don't know. That doesn't sound conservative.
It doesn't sound conservative. He sounds like a hitting liberal. That's a Joe Biden mathematics. You know, obviously we talked about this before. Cutbacks are going to be needed because they want to make the company viable. How do you make a company viable? By showing that it can make money and not spend money. You know, I said this before when we were off the air, or before we came on the air. Back in 1994, Eric Bischoff, when he took over WCW as executive vice president, he says it himself. There was a lot of cost cutting. He had to trim that budget so low that as soon as they made $1, it was a profit. And if you folks want to hear about that, go to Kayfabe commentaries, look up Timeline 1994 of WCW with Eric Bischoff. He goes into better details, but that's what WWE they're competing with the UFC. So they have to cut their costs way down. Does that mean less pyro? Possibly. Does that mean certain staff are going to go? Absolutely. Does it mean the catering is going to be changed to the Joe, eat at Joe's sloppy Joe's restaurant down the street instead of famous Amos's, deli cuts? You're going to see so much cost cutting and so much chopping stuff off the block. You're going to see they have to make this brand look good, or it's going to go away. That's now the difference with WWE today. If Ari says, the head of whatever the fuck the company's name is, decides to say, we're losing too much money on this shit, boop, WWE is going to go. Just like what happened with Ted Turner's WCW. People looked at this and said, hey, this company is not making any money. We're losing money. We're losing like I think Eric Bischoff said like $1 million a year or $10 million a year. So if Nick Khan, Vince, and whoever else knows, they got to do a lot of cutting, Rick, in order to keep WWE floatable for this new company to keep it attached.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully it won't come, down to like where they're gonna completely cut everything. I'm sure a lot of the cuts you said were gonna be minor cuts in the back, small cuts here and there. Maybe some wrestlers might not get a new deal, or maybe even get signed on for less money. I'm sure that's not gonna help out either. So that's just gonna be one of those things we're gonna have to look out for.
Yep. Rick, I don't know if we said this before, but I got details on Vince McMahon's deal with Endeavor. It says more details continue to come out regarding the new WWE contract that Vince McMahon had to sign. So he is contracted now at the end of March, just days before it was announced that Endeavor Group had acquired the company. As previously reported via the SEC filing, that's a business and trade, McMahon became an employee again after receiving a stock award with a market value of $4.7 million. For now, he remains the controlling shareholder of that brand. The deal stipulates that he will serve as executive chairman, Rick, for 2 years. We did not know this, for 2 years, from the start date of January 9th when he returned. Reported by Hollywood Reporter indicates that McMahon's continued employment shall be conditioned, as we spoke before, with the no harassment stuff and all that. The deal was, because we all know we've covered this regarding the hush money stuff and all this stuff that Donald Trump apparently is going through now. So now McMahon he's now contracted. He's an employee. He's in charge of the brand, but he could find himself more fired. So he actually gave up most of his stock. So he made money, but at the same time, if they don't like what he's doing, they can fire him.
So he'd be like, Vince McMahon, I'm fired. And it's I'm sure
can
by
you
now.
imagine? Can you imagine if Nick Khan had to tell him he's fired?
Yeah, no shit.
I can think of a way they can save $4 million.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think that Vince will go back on TV again, though. I don't see him returning. Maybe when he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame years from now. But as far as him stepping out of line, I would hope by now, at this point in his time, that whatever dirty secrets he has out is out, and he can kind of walk a line for the rest of his life, for at least for the rest of his career.
Well, he needs to stay off of TV with that bad dye job and that Smiley whiplash.
I honestly, because of something I've heard time after time after time, I don't think until Vince is dead, I don't think he'll go in the Hall of Fame, because he has said multiple times he does not want to go in.
Really?
And he doesn't want that night to be about him.
Yeah, I think that's just him just being just saying it just for the sake of saying it, but I'm sure in the back of his head he wants the one night to be about him. And you know what? When the night time comes, don't get you wrong, it will be justly deserved that he goes into a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Without question. So
Terry 3G says, here, there you go, retirement match, Vince McMahon versus Goldberg. You know who's going over on that?
Well, you know what? It would fit for Goldberg because at least Goldberg can say he beat somebody.
Yeah.
Wait, you're crazy? You think McMahon's gonna give Goldberg the finger poke of doom?
I don't think
Yeah.
Goldberg would go for that one.
You think Vince is gonna? You think Vince is gonna do a job? He's a promoter.
Well, I don't know. Time will tell. FDR's Dax Harwood announced that he is canceling his podcast, Uncle Dax, I believe it's called. Howard stated that the podcast did more damage than good. He also noted that news sites were taking a lot of his comments and twisting them around to, and it didn't help matters. But he also did take stock in the whole situation. He did say that he did tend to rustle some feathers, and it got to the point where everything in the show was just he was more anxious than anything. He had to walk away from it. Um, Joe, what's your thoughts on Dax canceling his podcast?
You know, we live in such a society that people get so anal about other people's, stuff. If he says something, hell, I say stuff and people's either love what I say and find it funny, or they whine and cry and complain like a little bitch. So, you know, if he had to give that up because of situations and because maybe the timing, maybe he doesn't have the time to do it as much, I think that's a good thing. He realized he's not like somebody else who just keeps something beating the dead horse and keep going. He knows, hey, it's time to put this aside. He can always come back to it later when his career's winding down, and he can go dedicate himself to being part of FTR. So it's a smart play in his book.
All right, Lance, your thoughts?
You know, he tried something, had a little bit of fun with it, had some backlash. It didn't work right now. He wants to move on. God bless him.
Well, here's another thing. Wrestlers, especially today with the social media and everything, they get so much like
Yeah.
backlash you would not believe. I mean, they're getting ridiculed on every form of social media. They're getting, even just up in, if the airports, you have people walking up and just ridiculing and just giving him shit.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because these guys are busting their ass, and I hate to use the word, to entertain us. And I think somebody like Dax Harwood is a great wrestler. I love watching their matches, FTR. And, for him just to have to feel like he has to walk away due to the stress issues, it kind of sucks, And I'm sure even the dog agrees.
Yeah, even that the dog agrees. Again, you know what? Terry says the same thing. You can't be outspoken person in society with this society without understanding there will be a backlash for it. That's that's my dog complaining. Probably I rant too much, but yeah, it's this society sucks. If you're not into trans, if you're not into woke, if you're not a liberal, if you're not in those categories or pushing the racial issue, then you are not. If you speak out, you're fucking blacklisted. So this is the pettiness of today's society, and he's smart. He took the ball and said, you know what, I'm gonna focus on other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's one last topic I want to get onto, and apparently there is a word that they're going to do a Baywatch reboot. And Mandy Rose has taken interest that she would like to play Pamela Anderson's role. Now, I don't know. I mean, I think it would really work well. But the question is, they're not sure if Mandy would even get the spot or if they had somebody else in mind. But I don't know, Joe. I think that would work well. What do you think?
Mandy Rose, absolutely. She's got the great bouncers. So, you know, the way I hate remakes. First of all, I hate remakes. Um, and when they try to do it, sometimes it doesn't go over well. We've seen it with so many times that they try to do the A Team, Knight Rider. They try to do so many reboots. It freaking, it never works. Now Mandy Rose fitting as a new Pamela Anderson, possibly. She fits the character, the look, the sex appeal, and all that. Can she act? Well, Pamela Anderson didn't act much, but you know, I really honestly, if I want to see Baywatch, put back the original. Don't make any new shit. It doesn't make sense. Then they make it woke, they make it liberal, and then it goes down the drain. Over in the YouTube chat room, James Jones says, "Sup all." So how you
How you doing,
James?
James? Welcome to the podcast.
And Rick, before we finish, when you finish this topic with Lance, I got one more for you.
All right. Now, Lance, again, now I would think as far as acting goes, I don't think Mandy Rose would have a problem because when it comes to wrestling, acting kind of comes, it's a package deal.
Yeah, as I've heard, put theater and round. So yeah, she knows what she's doing. And also, Mandy Rose, that red one piece. I like the sound of that.
Well, although I would hope if they do a reboot, they put them all in string bikinis. But that's just me, guys. I know they're professional, like lifeguards, but still, she would definitely be hot in that. Absolutely.
And I hope they leave her with the dark hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't see her as I mean, she's had blonde hair before, but I think the black hair, the darker hair, she's definitely much more sensual. Well, at least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And even James Jones says Mandy would be great for the Pam role. So, all right, Joe, you said you wanted to bring another topic over. What do we got?
Yep. First of all, I did post this the other day, and this is Abdullah the Butcher. We all know old Abby. He sold his WWE ring that he got at the Hall of Fame. I think it was this year or last year, was it? Did he get inducted this year or last year?
Something like that.
I think it was last year, not the year before, but okay.
Okay. Well, he already sold the ring because he is broke. And apparently the story goes, Abdullah the Butcher is scheduled to appear in an AIW wrestling card in Ohio next month. And if you're wondering why the 81-year-old is still working, it's because the man is broke. Abdullah's real name is Larry Shreve. Told Click on Detroit that he is broke. And we wonder how the guy from 1958 through 2010 go broke. Well, look at Ric Flair. So basically, he had to sell his ring to make up some money, just to get some money. And Rick, I don't know if you guys remember that there was a case against Abdullah by Devin Nicholson, who claimed that Abby gave him hepatitis C during a match with blood.
I do remember that.
Okay.
And it cost the guy his contract with WWE. Go ahead, Lance.
Hang on, though. One thing. That's Hannibal. So take what that sumbitch says with a grain of salt.
Well, with that, Abby lost that lawsuit and had to give Hannibal $2.3 million.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's where he's been able to do all these shoot interviews. Okay.
Yes.
Well, also, like I said, Ric Flair, if I'm not mistaken, he sold his first Hall of Fame ring.
Yep. Now, Abby...
No, the first one is in the coffin with Reed. I mean, Charlotte's former self.
Yes. Captain Winky.
Okay, I honestly thought that he had sold it. I remember reading reports that he had sold it, and then Triple H, I think, eventually gave him another one.
Well, as far as Abby's money concerns go down, he claims he didn't know about the lawsuit because apparently he cannot read. And he said that in his inability to read and write, he never got or never found out about the lawsuit and didn't know if he had to go to the court, and it was a default judgment. So he lost the case by default. So, and Abby used to run 2 restaurants. He used to run one in Atlanta, Georgia, and one in Japan called Abdullah the Butcher's House of Ribs and Chinese Food. Now, Chinese food in the Japanese territory, good luck. So now he's still at 81 years old, he still has to go around poke people with a fork and make whatever money.
Jesus Christ, that poor bastard's gonna die in the ring. I really have sympathy for the stories like that. And the fact that he lost by default, that just says something that he just honestly should have paid more attention. I think if he had fought and won the case, he probably could have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
He probably could have won. I mean, shit happens in the ring. You get bloody in the ring. So,
Well, and everybody knows this Abdullah the Butcher, but there is one thing that makes sense. He's been wrestling since God knows how long, from the 50s. You couldn't put your money aside, Abby. You know, there's no one to blame but himself. And again, this is what cost it.
yeah.
A funny thing about his rib shack and Chinese food place in Atlanta. The last time Mania was in Atlanta, he knew, everybody knows if that place was open. So, well, you figure if you were owned by a legend in the business, you'd have enough food because people are going to flock there. The first night of Mania weekend, they ran out of ribs.
Yeah, wasn't it a story that they ran out of food, period, in the first, I don't know, 30 minutes or some shit like that?
Oh, Jesus,
Something
wow.
like that.
That goes to show you.
Yeah, he just a bad business sense. If you're gonna be, a wrestler who has a restaurant and there's gonna be WrestleMania in that town, that you got to double stock. You got to take that risk.
Oh, that was the topic I wanted to bring up to you guys.
All right.
I,
Well, we're gonna wrap up this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I want to thank James Jones and Terry 3G for coming in the chat room. Joe, you're over at Golden Realms. Tell everybody about it.
See, we got through a show without me saying anything that derogative and that bad. Next show, I promise you, tune in. It's going to get worse.
Oh shit!
Yes, I'm gonna let the pony out, and it's gonna go run wild. Check me out. I am a Scoldrens Realm. Hashtag Scoldrens Realm. Just do that hashtag. I am on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I do games from yesterday and today. I do from PC to consoles. Rick, my wife just got me a big 12-in-1 Midway classic arcade machine, and I did post a picture of that up.
Nice.
So I have that added to my collection. And this is not an arcade one-up that you see. This is a full-size arcade machine.
Yeah, I don't like the one-up ones that you see at Walmart. I think they're shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 of them. They're not that bad, but this one, you could tell it's an arcade machine because it dwarfs them. So even with the risers, it dwarfs them. But I am going to be doing Mega Man 2. I was going to be doing Mega Man 1, but that one just angered me so much I wanted to hurl the controller across the room. So I will be doing Mega Man 2 sometime Friday, so tune in for that.
All right, Lance, over at Lance Moss TV and Friends, what do you got going on over there?
Right now, it's just every Tuesday night we go live on Lance Moss TV and Friends at 7:05 Central, 8:05 Eastern. We never know who's going to show up, and we shoot the shit for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
All right. Again, that's over at Lance Moss TV on YouTube.com. Joe, we have a couple of people, good friends we want to give a shout out to. BC Games and More and TKWA.
Yes, definitely. Check out BC and Mrs. A. They're such awesome folks. You can check them out on Facebook every Saturday night or Sunday night at 9:30 on Facebook. So check them out. If you go, tell them that the Hardcore Crew sent you. And you have TKWA, Trenton Trend Killers Wrestling Association. They're a virtual wrestling promotion where they do promo-based battles. So you actually do a promo and you sell yourself out there pretty much in a promo, and whoever's promo wins, their game characters created in a WWE 2K23 format, and the match actually plays out. So whoever's promo does better is the winner. So it makes some interesting promos. There are folks that I've seen that really have no experience in the ring, have never been in it. I've been in it. Zoe's been in it. So these folks actually can make some of the veteran and some of the current wrestlers today look bad in promos, and they have they're just streamers and gamers. So that is another thing. Rick, let's give some props to our vicious vixen too.
Oh yes, absolutely. Lovely's Vicious Fiction. She's been out for the past couple of weeks, but she's always active over in our HWR chat room on Facebook, the group section. Um, Again, folks, we are here every single Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Please hit that like and subscribe button and help support HWR. So with that, for the hardcore crew.
Well, time out. See, Terry had to put it in there. He said no one wants Chinese style ribs. No, we don't want Chinese style ribs. What the motherfucker you doing?
What, y'all ain't never had spare ribs?
Yeah, what the Chinese spare ribs? What the hell?
Okay,
we
you know what?
We prop out the doggy. We prop out the doggy now till you eat the